Tis another beautiful day right here. We are reaching you live on the red from the Federal Capital Territory, Abuja. This is Outnumbered on Oweleke TV. My name is Ramsey Enoch, and of course, I have the duo of Antonia Mwokolo and Dorcas Asogba right here with me. Good morning, Dorcas and Antonia.
Good morning, Ramsey.
Well, everyone is looking like you guys got refreshed over the weekend. How was your weekend?
My weekend was fine. It was a splendid weekend.
Well, it was fine. But
So why were you doing your eyes like
Because it
you didn't
was
sleep
short.
all? Oh, what
if,
short?
If we can have an extension, weekend extension.
Extra 48 hours.
Extra for 48 hours won't even be enough if you are given.
Let that happen first, then we'll decide if it's enough or not.
All right, the next calendar is going to have that. I'm not promising. All right, bringing you to speed with the headlines that we have for the day, starting from the Vanguard, the Guardian newspaper, I beg your pardon. Energy prices soar by 70%, cost manufacturers 290 billion naira in Q1. And details on page 6 of the Guardian newspaper, and this one says Sarah Agbakoba, CSOs head to court as federal government quietly withdraws cyber security levy. Details on page 6 of the Guardian newspaper, and that's a good news if it's been withdrawn, because a lot of eyebrows coming from the cyber security levy, where some are saying, well, it shouldn't be for everyone. If you're not earning up to 500,000, that's if you're not depositing up to 500,000, you should be exempted. And even more than that, if it's been withdrawn, it's going to go a long way, looking at what Nigerians are facing at this very particular point in time. More headlines still coming from the Guardian this morning. Labour to paralyze power sector over tariff hike. Well, this is long overdue. Page 3 is where you have that. I don't know who is in band A. Those of you in band A, I know you've been having a swell time, but then those of us in band, should I say C, D, E, down to F, we don't have power. Oh, she's in band H, but then, I don't know, which band are you?
Even me, I don't know where
She doesn't even know where she belongs because the supply is so epileptic. All right, so details of that on page 3. More still coming this morning. Nigeria is complex, but not difficult to govern, says Obasanjo. Obasanjo has been quiet for a very long time. Despite what Nigerians are going through, he's been quiet. But then, this is a direct message. Nigeria, we know, is complex. Nigeria have people of diverse tongue, diverse tribes, people from different backgrounds, the intellectuals, and the good, the bad, and the ugly. And that's why he said it's difficult to govern Nigeria. It's not difficult. He said it's not difficult. He's been a civilian governor, president. He's been a military president. So whatever he said is valid. He's not talking out of point. All right, that's Obasanjo speaking right there. Details on page 3. I know a lot of people want to look at this. Withdraw death penalty for drug offenses. ASF, France tells Senate. Oh, does he have the right to say so? I was being tempted to say, who is saying this? Before I got there, I was like, is this person a drug trafficker or something? Why is the person begging that the offense should be reduced? Well, all the same, the Senate sat and they came up with this. And this one is saying the ASF France is telling the Senate that they should withdraw the death penalty for drug offenders. And that's on page 5 of the Guardian newspaper. And finally, from here, troop bust terrorists hideouts in Taraba, seize arms and ammunition. Details on page 9 of the Guardian newspaper. That's going to be the size of the headlines from the Guardian this morning.
All right, let's take a look at the Daily Independent newspaper. The big story here says Lagos airport incident. Aviation experts query runway de-rubberization maintenance system. And we'll have a rider underneath that. Incident not connected to runway maintenance. This is coming from Fan. Moving on, people standing trial are dining with judges. CGN. This is coming from Clark, and that's on page 9. This is quite interesting. Let's just leave it at quite interesting. NNPC E&P Limited NOSL hit first oil in OML 13 in Akwa Ibom. That's on page 7. And the NDLEA intercepts 3 trailer loads of opioids, seizes 3.5 million pills, 344,000 codeine bottles. Details of that is on page 7. Now, seeing all of these things, you just read one of the headlines that said someone was asking the debt sentence on those caught doing drug abuse or with drug trafficking. The death sentence should be waived. And now seeing the NDLEA intercepting 3 trailer loads.
They're not even scared. Despite the death penalty, people are still, I don't know. Someone said something here, was it on Friday or so, that, Nigerians, sometimes they are head-bent at a particular business and they want to continue doing it, irrespective of the penalty or whatever that is attached to it. But then for us to have a sanitized society, I think it is a good one that this penalty is coming up. I think they actually brought this up so that it will curb the rise of this drug trafficking, because Nigeria is being projected in the international world negatively because of this drug trafficking of a thing.
All right, let's take a look at the next headline. Diriri State's call for fiscal federalism. That's on page 4. And finally, from the Daily Independence, military uncovers 50 illegal refineries in Bayelsa Forest. That's on page 6. We're not yet done grappling the effects of this whole drug use. We still have illegal oil bunkering in the Niger Delta regions. And it's just so sad to see all of these things coming up on the news, because this is our own oil. Why would you go to, yes, there's unemployment
in the land.
They call it
illegal refineries.
Yes, but why will you go to do this, putting your life at risk, putting your family members? I know there was someone that I know of years back, he got burnt while in this act. We just heard, oh, this person is dead. What happened? That was when we got to know of what he was into. Because ordinarily, you think the person is just a normal person and just going about his normal business. So it's sad to see.
But then they sell illegal refining, and we are looking for refined oil in this country. Our oil is actually being taken out for refining, and we have illegal refiners. Why not bring these people together, utilize their talent and maybe turn it to something positive? Instead of doing it illegally, do it legally, okay, so that we can have fuel. There is fuel scarcity.
But do we even have the refineries?
Our refineries are not working. And some persons, how do they do these things? Most times when I hear illegal refineries, I begin to think, how do they do it? Because like in some climes, like you go to China, you see the way they make use of their own resources, their own expertise, their own talent.
For
yes. But then in Nigeria, we're calling it illegal. Why not just get these people, empower them, and maybe refine the talent that they have and turn it to something good, instead of us crying of our refineries not working all the time? If we don't have maybe the Oyibo kind of refinery and the local ones are doing well, maybe that's a way the government can
doing well? The local ones are not actually doing well.
No, if they are actually refining and they are,
what if the government is actually trying? What about the people? What if they are not interested? Like you said, that Nigerians are head-bent. What if the government is actually trying to, use their expertise in some where they're actually good, but the people themselves, they are
okay. They want to do the illegal, and they don't want to make it legal.
What if their own will does not want to?
If they are being treated well, I think they should be accepting it. Okay, do it legally, and let's have fuel. It will be fine. But then if it is illegal, it is illegal. And it's not good for you to do anything that is illegal. So if the government said, okay, let's empower you, let's do this thing. If what they should do, test the oil being refined. If it is okay, if it meets the standard, all right, if it meets the standard, then we go by that way, while we go by the other way too. But then let it be legal.
If we really want to look at this thing, the people actually doing this, they are breaking into pipelines that have been constructed. So first of all, for you to be working in a refinery, to be working in a refinery, let's just put it that way, you ought to have the knowledge, you ought to have the expertise. So first of all, these people are already breaking into pipelines where we hear of cases, where we hear of cases of oil spillage, oil gets into the water bodies. This is not also saying that some other times when they're trying to export crude oil spillage does not occur. But all of this happens, and then they cook this, let me use the word cook, the crude oil in thick
okay, that's
forest.
How they do it?
Yes,
how they refine it
in thick forests where people may not even see them. All right, to get details of the stories, the headlines we've looked at from the Daily Independent, do pick a copy from your vendor. Over to you, Dorcas.
Thank you, Antonia. I'll be perusing my news from the Nations. The first bold inscription I have on the Nation newspaper is EFCC to join force with UK prosecutors in Desiani case. Cyber security levy, why implementation can't take off. You can get that on the Nation's newspaper on page 3. Commissioners battle chairman at Federal Government Character Commission. You can get that on page 2 of the Nation's. Nigerian complex but easy to govern, says Obasanjo. You can also get that story on the page 3 of the Nation. Pressure mounts on debtors to pay 450 billion naira federal government loan. God will help them. And finally, on my page here, Rivers government lawmakers flex muzzles over assembly quarters. That's my story on the Nation. Thank you, Ramson. Over to you.
All right, thank you very much for those headlines. Let's quickly bring you to speed with the headlines from the Punch newspaper, and that's going to be the last paper for the day. Above the header, National Assembly gets new tax report September. Details on page 42. National State Assemblies to spend 724 billion naira in 2024. And details on page 31. River Assembly, Fubara, pro-Wike lawmakers clash over relocation. Well, the feud in River State is getting out of hand. I think this is high time the presidency wedge into this situation so Fubara can work. Fubara is not doing nothing right now because of the distraction. Details on page 2. Then the big story said, electricity tariff hike, that's the kicker. Then the story says Labour demands reversal as protest begins today. Remember, there was an agitation for a protest and the protest is getting started today. NLC, TUC orders to picket NEC office discuss in 36 states. Okay, that's the rider to that story. I don't know, but then this protest, let's see how it's going to end. Labour, don't come out this time and tell us you were under threat and you have to suspend, or intimidation, and that you have to suspend the strike. This should be a no-no. We're talking about electricity tariff here. And apart from electricity tariff, the cybersecurity levy, everything just not working in the favor of Nigerians at all. We are not saying this administration is not trying, but then the people are not smiling. I think more needs to be done. Well, I'm rounding up because of our time. Stop electricity subsidy. IMF tells federal government, details on page 42, and that's going to be the size of the headlines from the Punch newspaper this morning. We are going on a quick break. After this break, we'll return, and it's going to be time for us to talk about the big story. Someone is making a statement, an elder statesman, a former president of the Federal Republic of Nigeria, where he has stated that Nigeria is a complex state, but then not too difficult to govern. We will return after this break.
Follow us on our social media handles at Oweleke TV. Visit our website at www.oweleke.tv for a thrilling journey. Oweleke TV, rising star at the fairground.
Welcome back from that breakout number, still live on your screen with Ramsey, Antonia, and of course Dorcas. We said on return, we're going to talk about the statement coming from Olusegun Obasanjo. Lately, I was telling someone, I said, despite everything happening, Obasanjo has not spoken. And you know, when he talks, he speaks facts. Sometimes his talks may not be favorable to everyone, but now listen to what he has said today in one of the papers. Not just one of the papers, in some of the papers. We heard him saying something like, Nigeria is complex, but not too difficult to govern, says Obasanjo. And why are we taking this seriously? And why do you think this statement is valid? Because he was, one, a civilian president of the Federal Republic of Nigeria, and also a military president. Yeah, first of all, he was, I think he was a president as a military that was some years back before we got into democracy. Then he came back again after democracy to still rule the same country that he ruled as a military governor, a military president. And now he's saying Nigeria, as a matter of fact, is complex, but then not too difficult, all right, to govern. Are we finding Nigeria difficult to govern? The present administration, are they finding it difficult to govern Nigeria?
From the look of things, seeing all the policies being enacted and the constant back and forth when policies come out, like this cybersecurity levy that came out last week, their news is going around that the circular did not pass through the appropriate authorities before it was released. Looking at all of these, one would say that it looks as if the country is difficult to govern from what we're seeing from the present administration. But if we look at it critically, what one might call difficult may vary from one individual to another, and also it's also dependent on the capacity of who is in power, the government in power, because some things might be easy and there are some things that are easy for someone to do. You understand what I mean? There are certain things that you might say might be easy, but there are certain things that may not be easy for another person to do. Now, looking at the diverse culture, language, religion, political beliefs, educational background in Nigeria, Nigeria is a complex society. And for Nigeria to work, it means there has to be unity in diversity. And truth be told, we are not experiencing that unity to the extent which we ought to, because if we are, Nigeria would have moved from the level it is to another level. A man from the south will still disagree with a man from the northern part of Nigeria. A man from the east will also disagree with someone from the west. And if we're not coming together at that round table, reaching a consensus in certain issues that before Nigeria, then we'll not be able to move forward. So that makes it kind of difficult for Nigeria to be governed, the complexities around Nigeria.
All right. Do you differ in opinion?
Well, not really. I don't differ. But then I believe that it's based on individuals. Because what is our mindset? During the EndSARS, we can see it's an example that Nigerian is not actually difficult to govern if the youth can organize themselves in such atmosphere to actually demand for what they want. Then definitely Nigerians, we are not animals. We are not difficult to govern. But then what are the mindsets? What is the orientation of those in power? Even as an individual, if I have the mind that this thing I'm going to do, I have to put you in consideration. Is it going to affect you? What is the effect it's going to have on you? If I can put that in check, and she can also do that, then we are all good to go. But when I am selfish and I don't care, then it is difficult.
Or when you even most times we have situations of when a person gets into a position, you no longer recruit people or bring people on board based on merit or what they can do. It's now based on, are you from my state? Are you from my region? Or do we share the same religion? Do we share the same political belief? Do we have same godfather and all of that? So when that is the order of the day, it makes governance difficult.
All right, as a matter of fact, this is Outnumbered, and of course, where we're talking about the big story, where a former president of the Federal Republic of Nigeria and the president of Olusegun Obasanjo has said Nigeria is a complex but not difficult to govern. Nigeria is complex, of course, and like my colleagues have said, people from diverse tribes and tongues with different political belief, with different support to different godfathers and different political system. Obasanjo, during his time, he did so much. Then we got into the administration of Goodluck Jonathan, who took over from Yaradua. Then we also had other administrations coming up. But then some of the things happening now, it's as if Nigeria, from one administration to the other, Nigeria is becoming more complex from one administration to the other. Policies that are being made has a way of affecting the people. Then, as it is right now, It is high time we go back to the drawing table and see what we are getting right and what we are getting wrong. This is not time to shift blames. Nigeria, no matter how complex it is, some persons have done well in the past. And we believe that anybody who is coming into the administration, coming into the political setting of Nigeria, should first of all know what he or she is coming to do, beginning from the local government council to the state, to the House of Rep, to the Senate, and even to the presidency. This is going to be the size of Outnumbered for today, and the big story will come on your way again, and that's going to be tomorrow, same time, same station. My name is Ramsey Enoch. Have a beautiful day.